Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone. Welcome into your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman. So happy to have you with us on this holiday weekend, and want to remind everybody out there on this Memorial Day weekend, be careful as you travel around. A lot of people around doing different things. A lot of us not be coming in on Monday for work. We really appreciate that extra day, but we remember as well why, and that is for Memorial Day, and we honor the ultimate sacrifice paid by our men and women in uniform. So many have died defending this country in several wars, and we think about them this weekend, especially on Monday, as we remember their sacrifice. And what we first called Decoration Day now became Memorial Day. We'll get into that a little bit more as we pay tribute this week. But lots of great things on the show. Please don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll be right back. You're watching Native News Today. The countdown has begun for the Mvskoke Creek Nation's marquee event, the 43rd Annual Mvskoke Nation Festival. It all happens June 22nd through 25th in Okmulgee. Come out and enjoy cultural activities, food, arts and crafts, sports competitions, the All-Indian Rodeo that started it all, the annual parade through historic downtown, carnival rides for the kids, and live entertainment. Friday night is Country Night with Delta Ray at 7 p.m., followed by Grammy Award winner Leanne Womack at 9. Saturday night is Blues Night starting at 7 with Johnny Lang, and ending with headliner Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Concerts are free to attend and are located at the amphitheater stage at the Claude Cox Omniplex in Okmulgee. For more information, including maps, schedules, and entry forms, please visit creekfestival.com. And welcome back to Native News Today as we get started this week. As I said in the opener, paying tribute to Memorial Day and Memorial Day weekend. Really, it's became such a holiday where people are going out to the lake having a great time, but we also want to remember the true spirit of Memorial Day, and that is remembering, honoring, celebrating the sacrifices of our men and women, our servicemen and women in uniform in the armed forces, our veterans. And what better way for us, we thought, to kick off this week's show than to go over to the Veterans Affairs Services office here at Mvskoke Creek Nation and talk to Major Ken Davis. He is the director over there. He is a United States Marine veteran, and he actually was in the Gulf War there in Iraq. And so, and we bring him in today to talk about the history of Memorial Day, what it started out as, what it has become, what it was signed into action from President Johnson. So we wanted to talk to him about the meaning and the history of Memorial Day.
Historically, it was originally called Decoration Day in 1868. Of course, happened after the Civil War, originally called Decoration Day, and the whole purpose of that was to honor the soldiers, sailors, airmen, well, of course not airmen back then, Marines and Coast Guardsmen. And what happened on that day, they also traditionally did the last Monday of May, was to go and decorate the graves of those who've been killed in action and died in service as well. Then throughout the years, about the 1880s, it started morphing into a Memorial Day. Then actually it was really called Decoration Day on and off and Memorial Day on and off until really after World War II. After World War II, the name Memorial Day stuck. It wasn't until 1968 that President Johnson actually signed the law making Memorial Day the official recognition day, which would be in the last Monday in May. In 1971, it became official, so now it's called Memorial Day. It's always held on the last Monday in May, and is specifically designed as a very quiet day to recognize soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and Marines that have been particularly killed in action, and those who've died in service as well. The preservation of our history, of our service to our country since World War I is vitally important here. It is a constant search. Basically, the question it's asked now is, who are you and where are you? The information of our killed in action, those who've served, our wounded in action. Right now, for instance, take World War I. We have 7 identified and confirmed killed in action in World War I thus far. But we only have 2 identified and verified Purple Hearts from World War I. The rule of thumb is KIA times 2, so we should have really about anywhere between 10 to 15 total wounded in action. The preservation of our history, this is the only place in the world where Creek veterans can be recognized, and this specifically, it's our building. It's here to honor our Creek veterans throughout. So it is a constant search to make sure that we get the information and retain it. For instance, when we save it here, we have it on 4 different sources. Have it on computer, then we have 3 backup sources, and 2 of those sources are outside. So say something happened here and the place burned down, we have other places where we store the data off campus, so it's all retrievable. We'll never lose this information again, ever, Jason. It's taken a long time. The center court, where we're doing the center court as well, we're getting a new type of plaque in here. These plaques now are starting to fade out. So Sean redesigned some new plaques, so we're getting new plaques in here. And what's interesting, Jason, we've had great grandchildren come in here and look at their ancestors that fought and were killed in World War I. And it's fascinating. Again, this place it's quiet all the time here on purpose. And it's designed that way. Like, for instance, celebration of Memorial Day, that is a very quiet day of remembrance. It's every year our honor guard. I love the way our Mvskoke Creek Nation honor guards recognizes Memorial Day. They quietly go out to the main flagpoles. They say a prayer. They do the proper salutes and lower our flags at half-mast. So yeah, it's beautiful in here, and it's such history. It is truly the blood, sweat, and tears of our tribe. You know, Jason, what everybody, I'm sure, knows, our tribe has fought against the United States. We have fought for the United States. Now we fight with our United States. So historically, we've been the whole way. We've been the whole way. So it's interesting, and that can be tied in directly to what's happening now. I said, just recently, last Sunday, and on Mother's Day, 6 of us Marines, World War II, Mr. Harley, Korea, Mr. Gooden, Vietnam, Mr. Taylor, Kuwait, myself, Iraq, Mr. Mvskoke, and Afghanistan, Mr. Cody Dyer. We all assembled here at 0700. We drove down to Norman, Oklahoma, and witnessed something. It was great. Witnessed John Bates getting commissioned as a 2nd Lieutenant, United States Marine Corps. And John worked here for about 8 months. And so John knows the history of our tribe militarily. And to see John, that fine young man, become a 2nd Lieutenant in the Marine Corps, there is a huge sense of pride that we have in him. He has a lot to carry forth, and it's things like that you know it's resonating with our young people because they know what's expected of them.
Well, for you, it's got to be nice to know the future's in good hands.
It is, and unfortunately, as of now, not many of our young men and women are getting commissioned as officers in the military, albeit Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, or Coast Guard, and that needs to change. It's our time to step forward in the leadership roles. And again, if John was ecstatic, I can guarantee you we were twice as ecstatic, and just a huge sense of pride, especially to see the World War II veteran, Mr. Harley, talk to him and to see the history, because quite frankly, I mean, Mr. Harley's old enough to be his great-grandfather, and he was down here, 93 years old, and he drove all the way down from Wisconsin to be here.
All right, we want to thank Ken Davis there at the VASO. We call it the VASO. It's the Veterans Affairs Services Office here in Mvskoke Creek Nation. It's basically the Pentagon of the West, as they like to call it. It's here at the Mvskoke Creek Nation grounds. If you ever get a chance, folks, please come. And if you visit the Mvskoke Creek Nation, we know a lot of people like to see the mound building. They like to see the council house. But one of the places you have to stop is the Veterans Affairs Services office. As you go through there, see all of the artifacts, the relics that have been left by veterans honoring their service, and that is a great place to visit and see a lot of wonderful history of our service history in the armed forces from the Mvskoke Creek side. And speaking of that, it was a great place to, while we were there, talk with John Bates. He is a young man that has a bright future ahead of him. He has been commissioned as an officer in the United States Marine Corps, furthering his education at the University of Oklahoma. We're so proud of him as a Mvskoke Creek, and we wanted to honor him with this special here.
So I just recently commissioned, as you know, second lieutenant in the Marine Corps, which is 01. It's brand new, it's the lowest ranking officer rank in the Marine Corps, but going through it, you have to go through multiple increments of OCS unless you do the ROTC route. But it's 6 weeks each time you go, which 6 weeks you're waking up at 06 in the morning, not going to sleep to around 2200. So it's a very long day. You're constantly moving. There's no time to really just sit down, take a nap or anything like that. There's no like study breaks or anything crazy like that, but it's constantly moving, constantly putting your head down to the grindstone. And so after that, obviously you're still working on your degree as well. So you spend your 4 years, however long it takes to get your bachelor's degree, because every commissioned officer has to complete OCS and complete the degree requirements for a bachelor's degree. But yeah, so once I did that, I commissioned, as you know, which is a really cool ceremony. You have, your most cherished loved ones there to put your rank on you, because it's the first time that you'll be giving a salute, the first time you'll be wearing that officer rank, and the first time you'll be wearing that cover as an officer in the Marine Corps. So it was really cool. It's a humbling experience. Like you said, that's what I've heard. I haven't seen the statistics, but from my knowledge, yeah, Native Americans are the biggest contributors to the military per capita, like you said. But it's definitely a humbling experience. I've been an enlisted Marine in the reserve side for since 2012, since July 2012. And learning the enlisted side, I think, definitely will help me as an officer, because I know what they do like on the ground level. And so as an officer, you're definitely going to be doing that that more managerial side of the military housing. And it's really cool to just see both sides. Obviously, I'm just now starting out as an officer, but it's a great experience so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Yeah, so my major is communication, which just deals with how people interact interpersonally on an organizational level. So it's from the very grassroots all the way up to the big time. So it's really cool. But as far as the actual the degree went, I took some intercession courses, so there was a lot of classes that I had to get done within that time frame in order to commission. Now in 2017, but it was very time consuming. That's for sure. I didn't have very much free time, and but that's to be expected. If you really want to achieve something, you got to make sacrifices. So starting June 1st, I'm going to actually be going on active duty. I'll be working with the Officer Selection Station up in Norman with Captain Marcinek and Lieutenant Johnson, helping to recruit future officers, passing on everything that I've learned as far as OCS and what I learned as an enlisted Marine, passing on to them my knowledge, so that way they're more prepared than I was whenever they become officers. So I'll be doing that until September, and then September 11th I report into the basic school, which is a 6-month-long school which teaches young second lieutenants everything that they need to know in order to be a basic infantry officer. So my family, big part of my success. Personally, I don't think it's just my success, it's our success. Because without them, without their knowledge, everybody who's ever passed on any sort of knowledge to me is a reason why I'm here. And especially my mom, she has always been there. She's my #1 supporter. Because from the very beginning, she was always telling me that I can do whatever I set my mind to, and that's the typical mom thing. But it's everybody thinks their mom is the best, and I'm no different. I think my mom is the best. She's number one, and without her, I definitely wouldn't be here. And going along with that, my grandma, my sisters, my brothers, just them looking up to me, that helped me to push myself. And without them, like I said, I wouldn't be here.
And that will wrap up basically what we have been featuring this week as a special tribute to our Memorial Day. We wanted to talk about the history of the day in itself, of the holiday, and also highlight one of our service men that are in the armed services in the Marine Corps there, John Bates. He's done so many things in his life at a young age. We're very proud of him as a Mvskoke Creek citizen, and that's what we like to do on this program. We like to highlight some of our best and brightest and some of the people out there that are making Mvskoke Creek Nation proud, some of our citizens, and he's definitely doing that, and we look for great things out of John as he finishes his service there, and also his education. Speaking of education, we'll get right back to our regular features. We want to take a look at, people out there see public education, the schools, Oklahoma. A lot of the statistics aren't very good. In fact, at the bottom in a lot of things. And we wanted to talk to one of our Native American schools to see the status of education, and we went to Riverside to talk with an official there about that.
Riverside is one of 4 off-reservation boarding schools across the United States under the BIE, Bureau of Indian Education. We are the largest of those 4. The other 3, we have Flandre Indian School in South Dakota, Chemawa Indian School in Salem, Oregon, and Sherman Indian School in Riverside, California. The other 3 schools, they're all 9 through 12 high school only. We are different in that we're bigger. A big part of that is because we have an elementary, junior high component to our school. So we start at the 4th grade. We have students from 4th grade all the way up through 12th grade. We're the oldest continually operated boarding school still in existence. Riverside's been continually in existence, in operation since 1871. So obviously with that comes a lot of history. So it's a really unique place in that we serve a really diverse student population. Close to 90% of our students come from out of state. A majority of our students stay on campus here, live in our dorms. We have students from usually about 80 different tribes represented within our student population. So we really have a diverse student population in terms of the differences in the tribes, the types of backgrounds the students come from. We have students that come from really remote reservation areas, and then we have students that come from urban areas. So it's a really unique setting for a school, and it's a really good place to work, and a really good place to go to school as well. Well, we're funded. It's through the Bureau of Indian Education, and we're federal funded. So we don't receive any state dollars from local and state department for our funding. So a lot of times, sometimes because we're a school in the state of Oklahoma, sometimes there's a misconception that we could be affected by the state budget cuts within the state of Oklahoma, which is not the case. Which we're thankful for, because I have a lot of friends and colleagues, fellow administrators and teachers that work in public schools, and I know they're going through some struggles right now. So we're fortunate that we haven't had to endure the same struggles that they have as far as the budget goes. We're fortunate because we don't have to worry about cutting programs for our kids. We don't have to worry about being some of the I guess, creative measures that some of the administrators and schools have to take to just, you know, provide the best quality of education for their students that they can. We don't have to be that creative in that way. We get to be creative in a way that we're fully funded to be able to provide for our students and provide, you know, extra activities for our students. So, you know, definitely in this time, this day and age, fortunate to be a school that's within the BIE. Also, you know, we've walked around just a little bit. Our facilities, you know, we're in facilities that are we just finished up our third year in these buildings, in this high school building, and the new dormitories. So, and I've been here long enough. I've been here for 10 years, so I got to see the change, the drastic change from the old facilities that we're in to what we're in now. And the other thing, with 3 years in the new facility, we've got to see the impact that it's had on our students, and not only our students but our staff as well. So I feel like they've, you know, that added level of comfort just being in new facilities where you're not having to worry about you know, things like if you're going to have heat during the wintertime in your classroom and you're worried about your kids being cold to where they can't even focus. You know, we don't have to worry about those things anymore. Even in the dorms, you know, the same goes for the dorms. You know, we don't have to worry about if a majority of the kids had a hard time sleeping the night before because the air conditioning didn't work and it was so hot that they couldn't get a good night's rest. You know, there's a lot of those things that have improved by us being in the new facilities that we're in now. There's a lot to me, and we do have students from that are local. We have students. This year we were right around 40 students that were local students, commuters that didn't stay in the dorms. We do run a bus route in Anadarko, and we run a couple SUVs that go kind of on the outskirts to pick up students who come to school here. And then we have students from, you know, different parts of the state. So we do have some students that are from Oklahoma. As far as the benefits for our students that go to school here, again, we're not having to be creative to just make it work. Pretty much, we're able to. You know, one of the examples I guess would be, I know I have, like I said before, colleagues, teachers, and administrators in public schools that talk about the high number of students in their classrooms. You know, teachers that are dealing with 25, 30 students. We've even had teachers that come here from the public schools, and once they see what their caseload is, they're like, wow, this is a lot less. This is nice. This is more manageable. I get to give my students more individual attention. Our teachers very rarely will have more than 20 students in the classroom. So the low class sizes, I think, is a big benefit for our teachers and our students, because there's more time and more room there to have that one-on-one attention, that one-on-one interaction. And for us here, relationships are big for us, for our staff, because we become their home away from home. We become their family in a lot of respects. Because they're here with us for, you know, 8 months of the year pretty much. So that's definitely a benefit for our students and for the rest of our staff, because a big part of our staff is our residential staff. So I think that lends to you know, the ability for our folks to have that time to have the time to build better relationships with our students. And once you can do that, then you can you know, you can kind of hold them to a higher level of accountability when there's that connection, when they know, you know, if we're a teacher, if you're sitting there and you have 15 students in your classroom there's a good chance that over the course of that school year, or even over the course of the first month you have them in class, that you're going to be able to connect with all those students. And after you make that connection as a teacher, then that's when you can start building that relationship. You can build with that student. You can set goals, hold them accountable, and not to say that it can't be done when you have a lot more students, but I think it's definitely more difficult if you were to have 25 or 30 students every class, So I think that alone, as far as the educational piece, is one of the big benefits that we're able to offer here at Riverside as a staff. The other thing is, back into the funding a little bit. We're usually able to provide our teachers with whatever resources they need to execute whatever curriculum they're responsible for, and to go beyond outside that. We can also provide professional development for our teachers to help them to grow, and so those things, there's really not a whole lot of restraints there for us. Supplies in the classrooms, that's not an issue. You read the papers, you hear different stories, you hear things all over of teachers at different schools asking for supplies. They've ran out of paper or whatever, and they need this much donated to get through the end of the school year. It's tough seeing that as an educator, as a person that works in education, because there's a direct effect to the students, and that's one of the things that, again, we're fortunate here. We don't run into those same problems because, like I said, we're not dealing with the same budget situation that the state schools are.
All right, that will wrap us up for another edition of Native News Today. We want to thank everybody out there for watching us. We want to thank everybody out there for telling their friends all about the program. We continue to see people out and about everywhere talking about the show. We love the show. Keep it going. We really appreciate that. And you folks out there who watch us on the CW here and that watch us online on our online channel, you're what keeps us going, what keeps us motivated to provide good content each week. And we are striving to do that. We have a lot of great things ahead. We've got an Elder Conversations series coming up, a great story on a bluegrass trio of Mvskoke Creek brothers out of Branson, and a lot of good stuff coming up. So definitely keep it with us here at Native News Today. We'll keep you abreast on all the things going on at Creek Nation on MvskokeMedia.com, all of our social media sites. Stay with us on Facebook. It's festival time, so don't forget about that. And we got a lot of giveaways, a lot of prizes and things to offer as the festival nears as well. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great week.